welcome to the First Line. It is amazing to be back today. My name is Massimo Marchiano, and with me today are two lovely hosts, Michael Zingroni and Taylor Snyder. How are we doing today, gentlemen?
We're doing great. This is our Drake episode, 6th episode of the season, so this is a very special occasion, so I'm very hyped for that. And hey, we got the Drake edition, so all stops are coming out. Got a very nice and special show for you. Can't wait to get it going for you guys.
I'd be better if this was more of a pre-2005 Drake, like Teen Nick Drake. Like if we could get like a Teen Nick Drake theme show, then we're talking.
Like a little Degrassi action?
A little Degrassi.
Can we include So Far Gone? Or
we could.
Oh, no, we definitely can. It's some of his best work.
If that'll get you off if you want. I mean, it's up to you. Overall, though, I'm doing great right now, Mass. Temple basketball is back tomorrow, something I've been looking forward to a very, very long time. The Capitals continue to stay completely average, but I have no complaints. The Celtics are 13-2 right now, 13 straight wins. Fired up, ready to talk about a lot of things today, a lot of ground to cover. So let's get started. What do you say?
I say we do get started. As Mike said, it is 6th episode of Season Dose. It is the Drake episode, which means like any other episode, it's just going to be the same exact thing. But let's move right on to our first topic of the day. We do want to get to Temple basketball. We're going to get on to Temple stuff in general. Let's move on to our first topic we want to talk about. Going to get some NFL talk right here. See where that leads us to. We got Tyrod Taylor getting benched in favor of Nathan Peterman. Nathaniel Peter. I don't know. Anyways, guys, Nathan Peterman had 79 yards, a touchdown, 70% completion percentage against the Saints on Sunday. People are wondering why the Bills made the decision now to bench him. Mike, why don't you start us off with your opinion on this move here by the Bills?
There's one ESPN article that kind of said it right. It was the right move at the wrong time, which is pretty much exactly what happened. I mean, I would understand if you want to move from Tyrod Taylor. He isn't a gangbuster quarterback. He isn't going to break games for you. So you're kind of limited with him. He has good numbers. He doesn't take risks, but there's definitely more you can have in a quarterback. It's just a thing. Does Nathan Peterman give you that more when you're 5-4 in the middle of a red hot, full steam playoff race in the AFC? That's anything more than wide open right now. I mean, is Nathan Peterman, a 5th-round pick out of University of Pittsburgh, is going to right the ship when you're, frankly, in the middle of a playoff race? You just got dominated by a really good team at home. I mean, that really isn't anything about Tyrod Taylor. I mean, there's more you can get, what Tyrod Taylor doesn't give you. But, I mean, right now, you got to go what's working. I mean, they're 5-4 and in the playoff race. What are they doing? It's just the wrong time. I mean, I understand the logic. It's perfect logic. I thought they would do this after the season, but right now, it just doesn't make sense.
Well, I think it's evident that the Buffalo Bills have declined a little bit. They've lost 3 of their last 5. They aren't the team that we saw at the start of the season. One thing that I really see in Nathan Peterman that I don't see in Tyrod Taylor is his ability to pass in the pocket. Nathan Peterman's a pocket passer, and Tyrod Taylor's kind of like that RG3, a little less rip-off version of Russell Wilson because, well, he has the good arm. His ability to run with the ball, to extend plays is really what sets him apart. Unfortunately, that has not been working for him recently. I agree, Mike. I think the timing is completely awkward, actually, because, like you said, it's 5-4. You're playing in an AFC East with the Patriots right now, who are 7-2, who look a lot better, but at the same time, it's not out of reach. You still have to play New England later in the season. You still have division games. I think it's kind of weird that they made this switch now. I like what I see from Nathan Peterman. He looks like a pro quarterback out there. He's got a good arm. He's composed. He's accurate. Had a successful career at Pitt, but I don't think a 5th-round pick, you said it best, out of Pittsburgh in the middle of the season when you've had Tyrod Taylor, who's been in the league for 7 years, all of a sudden on the bench. I'm not really sure what that does mentally for Nathan Peterman to take on this big role. Will he rise to the occasion? Will he pull a Carson Wentz and go off this year and completely just single-handedly carry an offense to an 8-1 record? Will he be able to extend Buffalo further past where they are in the second half of the season? Those are all questions I don't have the answer for. Me personally, I see why they made the move. Eventually, Tyrod Taylor would have needed to go. But besides pocket passing, there's really nothing too special I've seen so far that separates him from Tyrod Taylor to make a move like this at 5-4 record right now.
And I think hopefully with the addition of wide receiver Kelvin Benjamin, who numerous times on Sunday against the Saints had a lot of open routes. Tyrod Taylor definitely missed him a lot there.
Yeah.
And I gotta be honest, I kind of actually have to disagree. I do think, well, maybe it is a weird time to put him in. I think there is no better time to put a quarterback in than just like right away. Carson Wentz, are you really going to put Chase Daniel? I'm sorry, I don't want to keep making Eagles references. I know we're Eagles fans. But, like, you have to look at different processes. The Browns, they threw in Deshaun Kaiser right away. Well, I don't know what the Browns are doing. Maybe
the Browns
I'm
aren't
trying
a good
to find.
example
I'm
for
trying to find the
anything
good
in the
example
NFL.
here.
The Browns are not
But
a
sometimes,
good
like
example.
the Texans, for example, they did a good job. They threw in Deshaun Watson early. But the thing, also, the other thing about Deshaun Watson was that half of it's on him too. He's got to take the leadership ability, and he did. He did excel. Beyond that level, he took the game seriously. Nathan Peterman, he's got to do the same exact thing here. He's got the weapons. He's got LaShawn McCoy, arguably one of the best backs.
More than weapons.
He's got Kelvin Benjamin. I don't know when Charles Clay comes back. I'm not sure if he's still injured or if anything is still going on with him.
You still got Jordan Matthews. You got young Zay Jones.
Jordan Matthews, and we'll see about those guys.
I mean, Jordan Matthews had 2 years when he was just under 1,000 yards. I mean, he was really close to a 1,000-yard receiver.
For the most, and the offensive line is stacked. So I think he's definitely got what he needs to.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't think it's awkward timing. I mean, maybe it is a little bit of awkward timing, but I don't think it's anything short of, like, weird.
Yeah, we heard this earlier when we were listening to some radio, how, like, there was someone saying, there's more than just stats with Tyrod Taylor, how he leaves people open. You mentioned earlier with Kelvin Benjamin, leaving a lot of people open a lot of times.
Right.
And that's really the main thing. Like, yeah, he's not going to take the risk. He's not going to throw interceptions or anything. But I heard he's not a good anticipation thrower, and he doesn't find the open man. He doesn't read through the whole field, and they have to simplify the offense. And in the NFL, anything simple is really not that good unless you have very high level quarterbacks, which Tyrod Taylor isn't.
And one thing I've definitely noticed over the years is I was reading an article earlier. Couldn't have described it better. Tyrod Taylor is neither good nor he's bad. He's not bad enough to the point where you remember how bad he is. He's just the textbook definition of average, and I hate to say it like that. I feel like that may seem kind of condescending, but he's very average. He puts up average numbers. He does make very few mistakes, but Mike, as you said, there's a reason he makes very few mistakes, because he's either underthrowing someone or overthrowing someone or not throwing at all and using his feet. I'll give it to him on that. His numbers don't look bad this season, and overall as a career they don't look bad. He doesn't make a lot of mistakes, but there's more to the game than the numbers when you look at Tyrod Taylor. And what they see in Nathan Peterman is a franchise quarterback. Sean McDermott, you knew this was going to happen eventually. I mean, listen, when the Buffalo Bills had that great start and they were out front of New England, you had to wonder, how long is this going to last, really? Because while Buffalo has those weapons on offense, you don't look at Tyrod Taylor and think, like, oh, man, that's the guy that's going to, lead me to a division title and lead me into the playoffs deep, because, like you said, I mean, he doesn't have the arm strength, he doesn't have the poise in the pocket, and they see potential. Sometimes it's awkward to us because it's like, why would you make a move like this when he's been on the team, he's done this and he's done that? But there's this potential, and, there's always a debate, like, why can't we compare LeBron to MJ? Why can't there be another MJ? Why can't there be a better version of Tyrod Taylor?
And don't forget, when Tyrod joined the team, too, back in 2015, he competed with E.J. Manuel and Matt Castle for the starting position. That doesn't really breathe franchise quarterback if you have to compete with those two guys.
I mean, I understand, but his 5th-round pick out of Pittsburgh, your franchise quarterback, like, do you think, like, he has true potential of being a franchise quarterback?
That's true.
I mean,
but I'd rather give him a try.
What the Buffalo Bills are doing is actually really interesting. They're trading for all these weapons, their receivers, and they're kind of stockpiling picks. So do you think they can maybe make a jump up into the early first rounds? Maybe not this year's draft, depending on who declares, if Sam Darnold declares or not, or even the draft after. Do you think the Bills might stockpile some picks, maybe get a high pick and draft that franchise quarterback? Nathan Peterman's just a guy.
It could depend on his play and how he reacts to his starting.
I remember Sean McDermott did make it clearly, we're not here for 5 wins. They still believe with Nathan Peterman in at quarterback, they're going to compete. Now, I don't know if he's just saying that
I really think they
please the
they
fans.
definitely can, though.
There's the possibility that he says that, because you don't want your head coach to get out there and say, yeah, we're just going to throw the season,
and
obviously. But
I think really that Kelvin Benjamin move was kind of a tale they might go to Nathan Peterman, because you see what the Panthers are doing down there with when they had Kelvin Benjamin before they trade him, and Devin Funchess, big receivers that will go around catch balls because Cam's inaccurate. Yeah. Maybe they're thinking they want to get Kelvin Benjamin, a big guy, a really big body with a huge catch radius for a young QB, maybe Nathan Peterman or someone down the line. Right. So I think that trade even sent us a little bit of signals that
a Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, a Baker Mayfield in Buffalo. Wait. Did we just solve are the Buffalo Bills now going to beat every single NFC East team in the Super Bowl now?
Right, because they have Baker Mayfield.
Because they got to get Baker.
They got to get D.D. Westbrook back on that team somehow. They got to find a way to make that combination
and just get D.D. Westbrook.
He's looked great.
No, I think that's interesting though. How they got Jordan Matthews, that really subtle, that easy. He's gonna get that 5-yard out for you. He's gonna be there. He's gonna, I think, catch the ball. He still has problems with drops. Even with his time in Philadelphia,
that's my
he had problem
concern.
with drops. But
injury.
But even with Jordan Matthews and Kelvin Benjamin, that just kind of screams that they're looking for a quarterback to groom eventually. Because I can see that with Sean McDermott. Maybe Nathan Peterman's that guy. They're gonna see. Why not? I mean, why go to get in the next best quarterback when he could be under Tyrod Taylor? You never know. So why not see?
Because here's what I think.
I respect it.
What the Bills need is, because when you have Sean McDermott as coach, I believe that the Bills have a good defense, and Sean McDermott as a defensive coordinator during his time did a splendid job. Not with Philadelphia. We're not gonna talk about Philadelphia. We're gonna talk about with Carolina.
He was the defensive coordinator for the Philadelphia Eagles.
Well, when he played, secondary coach, but. That's what
No, he was. No, I just don't want to remember that.
My apologies, because, such a dark history. But anyways, the point is that, with Sean McDermott, the defense is going to be good. The offense looks good on paper. Like we said, LaShawn McCoy, offensive line, the weapons he's got. Zay Jones and Jordan Matthews need to step up more as Buffalo Bills. But I think the main thing is Nathan Peterman himself needs to show the Bills front office that, he's applying himself to the game. And if he can't do that, then, Baker Mayfield fest. But if not, I think it's not the worst-case scenario.
What about this question right here? I mean, you just said Jordan Matthews and Zay Jones need to step it up. I mean, we saw Jordan Matthews. He was close to a 1,000-yard receiver with the Eagles and everything. Do you think part of it is just Tyrod Taylor having to having to simplify this offense, and it could be Tyrod Taylor holding them back?
It could be.
Who knows? Nathan Peterman can come in, then all of a sudden the Buffalo Bills offense has 6 Pro Bowlers.
You think about it, yeah, because you got Kelvin Benjamin.
Do you think that is reasonable logic?
I think it's totally reasonable logic. There's always that system. I mean, we saw it in Philadelphia, with before the Carson Wentz era when it was this whole mess with like Nick Foles, Sam Bradford, but they still had a similar team. They still had a good defense. They didn't quite have the weapons, but as soon as you brought in Carson Wentz, the guy they trusted in, maybe this is their version of Carson Wentz. This is the guy they trust for the future. Maybe it's not. I don't know. But when you bring in this fresh new guy who's able to pass at a higher level, more accurately, make plays, not like Tyrod Taylor can on his feet, but make plays in the pocket, a pro-style quarterback, that can enhance a guy like Jordan Matthews, who just played with Carson Wentz, who's very similar style to Nathan Peterman. I look at them and I see a lot of similarities. And like you said, Mike, Charles Clay, I mean, you got LaShawn McCoy, you have Zay Jones, Andre Holmes. It's not a bad team.
Yeah.
I like this, but it's such awkward timing. I almost think like the Bills should just finish out the year, dump Tyrod Taylor, because he's gone. I mean, if you haven't caught the hint by now, I don't see Tyrod Taylor on the roster this next year.
Do you think this was the front office logic, though, that maybe we would want to pursue a quarterback in free agency, say a Kirk Cousins by chance, or, want to draft someone high, but who knows, Nathan Peterman could be the guy, so let's see if he's worth it or not.
Question. So if not Tyrod Taylor, what should the Bills do? Free agency or draft?
I wouldn't be opposed to maybe going after a little Kirk Cousins because you're trying to rebuild. You have all these draft picks. If you dump a little money into Kirk Cousins, get these draft picks up, that's a 4-year span right there where you can be Super Bowl contenders.
Close your mouth there, Massimo, and I'll explain why. Because when in the past 5 to 8 years have the Buffalo Bills, has this ever worked out for the Buffalo Bills where they try to draft that young quarterback and develop him? It hasn't, and that's why we're in this position with Tyrod Taylor right now. This team is good. I like the logic if you bring in Kirk Cousins or, hey, he's in San Francisco now, but I would have loved even Jimmy Garoppolo on this team.
That's the thing. Like, where is Kirk Cousins going to go? I mean, you see him on Monday night not doing that good and everything, so he could go to Buffalo.
Let's shift over to Buffalo. You know what? Let's talk about Kirk Cousins in this offseason.
Yeah.
Now that we're talking about Tyrod Taylor,
you
know what? Let's move on to another thing in the NFL before we move on to some NBA talk real quick. I want to go and talk into some Kirk Cousins actions. I was honestly thinking the Giants were going to be the team this year, but somewhere in New York seems to be possible. Buffalo. Mike, what makes you think Buffalo is a good option for Kirk Cousins? The weapons?
I just think it's the weapons, and it just kind of makes sense for Buffalo. You
Coaching
think about
staff,
it. I mean,
fresh new place. Not many big contracts.
I feel like Kirk Cousins is a guy that just needs... He just needs to control that offense. He needs viable weapons. I just think
never had that
exactly that's the thing. I just think to a point he just needs more than Josh Doxson and Jamison Crowder and Ryan Grant.
Like other than Jordan
Tyron
Reed,
and Terrell Pryor playing like 30 snaps a game. Like,
Yeah.
he needs a little bit more than that. He needs a LaShawn McCoy. He needs a big, physical 6'5" Kelvin Benjamin. He needs a little dink and dunk expert, Jordan Matthews. And he needs a little young, fast guy in Zay Jones.
Yeah.
So I think it could make sense, and I think Buffalo could make that pitch saying, hey, we got these draft picks. We're going to get nice young guys for this team. We're going to be good because we're going to have all of them under rookie contract while you're getting bread. So, hey, why not come here, have some fun, and listen, we got LaShawn McCoy, one of the better running backs of all time. Why not come
Sean
here?
McCoy's also getting older, though. How much longer could Kirk Cousins, who's kind of young, enjoy with?
Listen,
Well,
in the NFL, all
yeah.
you need is 1 or 2 years. That's all you need. LaShawn
Fine,
McCoy
yeah,
has
that's true.
definitely has 1 or 2 more seasons left in him.
you make a good
big
point.
thing that has always stood out to me about Kirk Cousins is he throws a lot of interceptions. He makes a lot of mistakes. Now, I don't know if that's a direct correlation to the lack of receiving in Washington, but it's definitely something to note. Tyrod Taylor makes fewer mistakes but is not as good, so it's this kind of like weird balance. Like, would you rather take Kirk Cousins, who's prone to throwing a lot of interceptions but has the veteran leadership and has the abilities, or would you rather take Nathan Peterman, who's young, quite similar to Kirk Cousins? I hate to just compare all these quarterbacks, but to be honest, like, Nathan Peterman is a pro-style typical quarterback, and you can compare him to a lot of people, and that's what I like about him. If you do take this risk on Kirk Cousins, I think it'll pay off in the long run, though, because you have the receivers there, and you're giving him an advantage. You're not really gambling too much by bringing Kirk Cousins in, if you ask me, to be honest. Like, what's the pain in bringing Kirk Cousins in?
I think the most likely thing that's going to happen, though, I think he's going to get franchise tagged again.
What, by DC?
I think I can see that happening again, because where's he going to go? The 49ers have Garoppolo. I mean, do you think the Jets are going to want to dump all that money? I mean, listen, the New York, the biggest market, you know, in the U.S., you know, Kirk Cousins isn't doing good.
Pittsburgh. What if Roethlisberger retires?
I saw a little
Kirk Cousins with Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell. You got the weapons that you want, and they're younger.
I think Kirk Cousins might go to a smaller market, because if you see these big market teams, you know, they watch, you know, the owners, they watch the Monday Night Football, the Sunday Night Football. Then you see on Monday night, Kirk Cousins is just an average pedestrian quarterback when you see him against Carson Wentz and, you know, these other quarterbacks and such.
Carson Wentz and these other quarterbacks. I love it. It's just Carson Wentz here in the NFL. No, I'm playing.
Well, because
I know what you mean.
Yeah, but in
he's the
signing
best
Kirk
right now.
Cousins, they're trying to find the next Carson Wentz. They're trying to find a guy who's going to win a Super Bowl, and that's a quarterback you're going to go against. So, I mean, that's the only name I really need to say, because really that's the future. That's where you need to go against. You're going to need to win Super Bowls against that guy. Yeah. I mean, hopefully he forms into that, but that's what it's looking like.
There's so many veteran quarterbacks, though, that, like, you know, Eli Manning, Drew Brees, Tom Brady, Ben Roethlisberger, Aaron Rodgers. Not to say that, like, all of them are going to retire, but one of them might retire. Like, by the end of even this season.
I think Ben Roethlisberger is done after this year, honestly.
And, like,
especially if they have a deep playoff run.
So I do think Kirk Cousins has a market to go.
He definitely has a market. I think he's going to go to a smaller market, though. I don't think he's going to go to a big market.
Got to be Buffalo.
I can for some odd reason I can just see Kirk Cousins in a Buffalo Bills uniform.
I
can really see it.
And I agree.
I think it'll work out nice too if he goes there. That'll be a nice little collection.
I think he's done a good job in years past. Remember the whole RG3 thing? Remember when that happened? Remember when RG3 was
RG3 was like a thing, yeah.
And then RG3 just fell off, and Kirk Cousins came in. And I'll be honest, for those 2-3 years where Kirk Cousins came in and Washington won 2 out of 3 division titles that year, Kirk Cousins was a great quarterback. Mm-hmm. Now, I haven't seen that since, and I think it does have to do with the fact that there's literally no offensive line nor receiving core in D.C. That's why I am very curious, because you have this great offense in Buffalo, and I'm not saying Kirk Cousins is bad. I've seen it, like, Kirk Cousins, like, play up to his standards. I've just not seen it recently, and I think it could just do with lack of offense. That's why I'm excited to see what Buffalo could do for him and what he could do for Buffalo.
This really isn't about Kirk Cousins and going anywhere, but it's tying our last 2 points. I think the Buffalo Bills are sort of reflecting on kind of like what happened in Washington with the whole RG3 and Kirk Cousins. You know, Kirk Cousins, a 4th-round pick out of Michigan State, was a later-round pick. Right. They were about to give up on him and RG3 at the same time, but out of nowhere, Kirk Cousins has to play because RG3 is hurt. So he gets that audition. You see that he's good. You see that you had a gem in the 4th round. Maybe the Buffalo Bills are like, well, before we just go get a new quarterback next year, let's see what Nathan Peterman has, because who knows? He could turn into a Kirk Cousins type.
Let me ask you this. Let's say Nathan Peterman is a failed experiment. He doesn't do his job. Do you still pursue Kirk Cousins, or do you go in this draft?
I mean, it's a 5th-round pick if he doesn't
Or
say
would you
if he
continue-
doesn't show anything in these next 8 games
Yeah.
that says, okay, maybe we can just like tweak a couple things and like get a little
Oh,
bit
I'm
better.
saying he's out of the picture. What's the next step? Is
Oh,
it
he's
draft
out.
or Kirk Cousins?
I'm not trusting in the draft because it's either you.
Yeah.
I think because I
Kirk
really think
Cousins
you can,
already has enough on his resume to
exactly.
prove,
I think you can go all in with Kirk Cousins with the money because they still have a lot of draft picks with some of the finagling they did with trades over the recent years and everything. They can maybe shoot up. They can maybe just get a lot of rookies and sign Kirk Cousins, and they can have a 4-year period if they have a really good draft class. Depending on if they have their really good draft class with all these picks, they can have all these really good players under cheap rookie contracts for 4 years, and boom, right there.
Because Bills
You're
could turn into
contending
like
for Super Bowls.
they could turn into like a 2015 Cardinals type situation. You have a veteran quarterback, Kirk Cousins, kind of becoming a Carson Palmer
And the thing is,
type
they can turn
situation.
into that, but all those players are like a lot younger, except for the
That's
running
basically
back.
yeah.
I mean,
Kelvin Benjamin is your
Jordan
Larry
Matthews
Fitzgerald.
this is what Jordan Matthews' 3rd year in the league, 4th year in the league.
Fourth
This is Jordan
year,
Matthews' 4th year in the
yes.
league. This is Kelvin Benjamin's 5th or 4th,
Fifth,
4th or 5th.
4th or 5th. I
Yeah.
believe it's 4th. Who cares? Anyways, Kelvin
Yeah, but
Benjamin.
exactly. So it's like
He's
there's
still
a lot of
very young.
potential,
The point
and
is that it's a very young depth.
And the Kelvin Benjamin's going in there. He's like, wait, I got LaShawn McCoy. I mean, a 10,000-yard rusher. He'll be there by that time he gets in. But it would just be a perfect situation. I just see it playing out so perfectly. And
I think the Bills have a
think
good
those
line
two
too.
situations
So
correlate a lot.
they have
too.
a good rotation of backs. So again, basically to reiterate, it's either Nathan Peterman stepping up. If not, go to Kirk Cousins.
Kirk Cousins and
If
Buffalo.
not
Why
Kirk
not?
Cousins, if not Kirk Cousins, what other QBs can we get here that aren't in the draft? Because I gotta be honest, I do think that the draft situation, while it has worked for teams like LA, Titans, Eagles,
Do you even draft a quarterback? I mean, if Nathan Peterman doesn't show that much, do you?
it depends who's available. But I honestly say if Kirk Cousins is
What
available,
is the quarterback worth this year comparative to last year?
apparently it's like
I think
35.
if
Big
Kirk,
difference.
it's like
I
35
believe
mil a
so.
year.
Like say the Redskins franchise tag Kirk Cousins next year. I think it'll be like 32 mil maybe.
Yeah, right around that, probably.
Up there.
Is a quarterback worth 32 mil?
I don't like.
No.
It's something.
It's not
It's
about-
something ridiculously high for no reason. But I mean, we saw like the 3 quarterbacks drafted in the first round while we were there at the draft. All got drafted from teams that traded up. So I think that's still a really viable option for the Bills as well.
There's
So I
always
think-
draft day, yeah.
They can play their cards in so many different directions, and I think making this move actually kind of opens up a little bit. Because what if Nathan Peterman is that gem you found in the 5th round? Good thing we threw him in now, because now we know what we're gonna do in the future. Now
Yeah.
we
know if
we
he's
can
a
throw
camp
some
arm.
money on some other free agents that are not any quarterbacks, and we have some fun with it.
We know if he's a camp arm or we know if he's the guy.
Exactly.
Also, honestly, I think what the Bills really need is Howie Roseman. If they're gonna try and figure
No,
this
they
out.
need they need Sam Hinkie.
Sam Hinkie. Okay. Anyways, I think that does it for about the NFL. Is there any other things I may have missed about this whole Tyrod Taylor situation?
I just want to mention one thing. I'm
Don't
looking
say
at
Lamar Jackson.
No, I'm looking at a mock draft right now, and the first overall pick projection is Lamar Jackson to the Cleveland Browns. That would be a Cleveland Browns pick. I just want to mention that. That's a little.
That would be a Cleveland Browns pick. And that
That's-
leaves such a bad
That's
taste in my mouth.
interesting. I don't know what to think about.
I
that.
never want to talk about football ever again. now.
I'm never looking at this.
I would
as
rather, you
Browns
know what?
again.
Let's move to a spherical shape, such as. So, my fault, ladies and gentlemen. We're actually going to be moving on to college football. My error right there, and I'm definitely going to take that cut in the paycheck right there.
You don't get paid.
What are you talking about? Are you serious? So you're telling me I come into this booth? Okay. You know what? Before I go crazy right now, let's move on to some college football. Guys, power rankings for the playoffs. Get it. Taylor, start.
Well, Mass, a lot is going on right now with playoff rankings. Couple of close games, couple of big upsets. We got Alabama at 1. We got the Clemson Tigers at 2. I got a lot of friends at Clemson, so I'm going to keep my mouth shut on that. Not really, though. I'm going to
I'll
rip
speak
you guys.
up. I'll
I'm
speak up.
I'm going to rip
gladly.
you guys.
I'll gladly speak up.
At number 3, and this is the one I'm most excited about, ladies and gentlemen, it is indeed all about the U. They're back at number 3, University of Miami, and number 4, Boomers Sooner, Oklahoma. So it's Alabama, Clemson, Miami.
Speaking of
Oklahoma.
Baker Mayfield,
Yeah, speaking of Baker Mayfield. So, Mike, I want to ask you. We saw Alabama play a really close game in Mississippi State. Alabama's got a game versus Auburn coming up, a game that I think Auburn can win. Auburn just smacked number 1 Georgia. at Auburn, at Bryant Harris Stadium, in Auburn, Alabama. Smacked Georgia, took care of them, dumped them out of the picture. There's a lot going on. We still got Wisconsin at 5. Do you agree or disagree with any of these 4 teams in here right now after this past week?
The top 4 teams right now, do I disagree with any of them?
Right.
No, I just disagree with the placement. Why is Clemson number 2? Give me a break.
Listen, and the same thing happened last year after they beat Pitt, or after, they lost to Pitt in Clemson, in South Carolina. They lost to Pitt.
Yeah, but Pitt's not Syracuse.
I know, but
Pitt's not Syracuse.
I know Pitt's not Syracuse, but Pitt's not much better than Syracuse. You know what I mean? Like
Pitt last year though did have a win against Penn State.
They did have a win versus Penn State.
They had that.
But guess who also had a win against Penn State, or should have had a win versus Penn State? Temple. A lot of teams should have had wins versus Penn State. A lot of teams
should have wins against a lot of teams. So I do understand that, but I just don't see Clemson at number 2. I still think Oklahoma, with that road win at Ohio State, should be number 2 above Miami. I mean, I like Miami's resume. Notre Dame's a little overrated in my opinion. They still have to play Clemson. Am I correct? They still have to play some tough ACC schools. So Miami still has a little proven to, but I think they deserve to be in the top 4, especially over that big win. I think it just feels right.
Right.
But I think Oklahoma should be number 2. And I think you can swap, flip-flop Clemson and Wisconsin at 4 and 5.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean.
So this has caused a lot of commotion. If we could just start about that. Wisconsin is 10-0 right now. They're partying up there in Madison. They know their team's good, and they want to be in that playoff at number 5. With a 10-0 record and the schedule they play, which isn't too flashy besides a win versus Iowa, a game that they pulled away in the second half. Is this team deserving of the playoffs with an undefeated record?
If they go undefeated, do not lose a game for the rest of the season, which would include, unless Ohio State plummets and Ohio State a victory over Ohio State in the Big Ten championship game, there's no reason they shouldn't be in. If they finish a year with no losses and a Big Ten championship and they beat Ohio State, who the playoff committee loves, saw that last year. Ohio State didn't even need to win a conference championship when they said, people need to win conference championships. So, I mean, it doesn't matter. They love Ohio State. So, if they get a Big Ten championship over Ohio State, they definitely will be in. But I just see why they don't have them in right now. I mean, they got to get a huge win. I mean, Iowa at home, it means no, Iowa's just ranked that way because they beat Ohio State. I mean, Iowa's nothing scary.
Right, and I'll build off what you say. So they play Minnesota on the road very last week. They'll probably win that game. They play a Michigan team that has not had their starting quarterback since, I want to say, week 4. Don't quote me on that. Week 3 or 4 since then. A Michigan
they
team
just don't have any offense.
Had to adjust to a lot. Now, if they finish out the season 12-0. I still think they'll keep them at number 5 based off the fact that they only really can brag about that one win versus Iowa. They barely beat a Florida Atlantic team. I remember that game. They also pulled away from a Maryland team. It's a good second-half ball club. Now, like you said, Mike, the Big Ten championship is going to be huge for me because we got Michigan State on the other side and we have Ohio State. Michigan State's 5-2, Ohio State's 6-1, 7-3, 8-2 respectively. They're both equal teams. I almost want to say Michigan State's better than Ohio State, if you ask me personally. I have a bad feeling, though, that Ohio State's still going to get in this Big Ten championship. And if Ohio State beats Wisconsin in the Big Ten championship, even without all their losses, what does that mean for them? Is it a New Year's Six Bowl?
Well, for Ohio State?
Yeah, for Ohio State.
New Year's Rose Bowl, probably.
You think a Rose Bowl?
Well, actually, no. What are the two bowls in the play? I think it'll be the Rose Bowl and Orange Bowl this year.
Yeah.
Never mind. No, New Year's Six Bowl. I don't know. Depending how they, it's tough. I think they probably will though.
Yeah, I think they will just because of the love loss there is for Ohio State.
They're just Ohio State.
And, you know what I mean? The resume they have.
And you'll just get the Big Ten viewership, and everybody across America likes Ohio State for some reason.
I'm surprised that at 8-2 they're not actually above Notre Dame and Auburn.
I'm still surprised they have Notre Dame at 8.
Auburn's awesome.
No, Auburn's
great.
I'm really surprised why.
Just knowing how much the NCAA loves Ohio State.
I'm surprised why Notre Dame still has that one string dangling out in front of them and that they're allowed to hold on to. So I don't understand why they're still in a race. I don't think Notre Dame should be in there. I really think Notre Dame's really overrated.
Notre Dame's the same every year. Man, I think they play well, but then at the end when they play really tough teams, it's like, okay, you're done.
I'm sorry to cut you off, Mass. You don't think Auburn could find a way into the playoff, do you?
No, they could.
I mean,
Very well.
Let's say they beat number 1 Alabama. They will have sole possession of the SEC West. Alabama will not be playing for an SEC championship.
If they beat Alabama, they 100% deserve to be in the playoff. I mean,
Right.
I have to wait. But right now, I don't.
But even with 2 losses, they can get into this SEC championship, win their division outright. And if they play Georgia, I have a good feeling who's going to win that game. It's going to be Auburn. Now, all of a sudden, we're talking about an Auburn team that's 11-2. If everything falls into place, they've beaten Georgia twice now. They've slain.
Oh,
Bama,
they're 100%
Nick Saban.
in. Oh,
2
no,
losses.
they're 100%
Auburn's
in.
in
That
that
happens.
playoff. If Auburn's not in the playoff, I'm completely.
Oh no,
outraged.
they're 100% in
saw
if that happens.
a lot from that team this past weekend.
So what if this happens? We have.
Shoot.
So we get Auburn. We get Auburn beating Alabama, but Georgia beats Auburn in the SEC championship game.
Then that's a whole other ballgame because Georgia only has 1 loss and they've won the SEC outright. Can Georgia find a way back in? They're counting Georgia out, but is anyone really even out till the fat lady sings in college football? We've seen a lot from college football. It's given us entertainment. It's given us joy. It's given us heartbreak, and it's unpredictable, and that's what you love about this. Right now, I really, really think Auburn has the potential and will beat Alabama. And I think once they beat Alabama, this is going to be fun. This is going to be really fun.
Okay.
And let's think about this. If this U team is for real, if they are for real with Rozier in quarterback, and they are for real, and he outduels Kelly Bryant in an ACC championship, and the U brings the hardware back to Coral Gables, Florida, then all of a sudden Clemson and Bama are out of the picture, and now we're having a lot of fun.
Okay. All right.
Now we're having a lot of fun.
Okay. Well, speaking of something that won't be fun, what if we get what if you have the Alabama? What if you get the Iron Bowl, the Alabama Auburn game? It's a really close game. It's a 3-point game. Auburn wins on a game-winning field goal. They go on and they beat Georgia handily in the SEC championship game. Auburn's easily in. But Alabama, on the road to Auburn, only lost a 3-point close game where Auburn blew out Georgia twice, had a blowout game in SEC championship if it goes this scenario. Is Auburn and Alabama in there?
No.
Yes. See, here's the whole thing was, I mentioned this last show, I think, but when they were talking about the whole ideal of this, or the whole idea of the playoff was to not have 2 teams from the same conference, which I think is blasphemy. The 4 best teams, regardless of how the committee evaluates this, should be in this. I am not opposed nor think that it's uncalled for to have 2 SEC teams in there, Mike, and I agree with you. With only 1 loss, they take that 1 loss, and they don't make the SEC championship, but we have to remember they played a really good Auburn team. I think Alabama can still get into this picture, but then that raises a lot of questions. This ACC championship, which I believe will be Miami and Clemson, is going to be a lot of fun.
Okay. So what if we? I'm just going to keep throwing scenarios. So what if we get that Alabama-Auburn scenario going? Then we get a little scenario where Miami beats Clemson at home.
Right.
Actually, no, scratch that. Clemson beats Miami.
Right.
Then Miami beats Clemson in the ACC championship game.
Right.
When vice versa.
I think they'll give it to Clemson just because it's Clemson. I don't have to give an explanation. I think at the end of the day,
I think it's
Clemson
better.
will
I mean,
win.
they have them at number 2, so they obviously have some value in Clemson.
The value in
But
Clemson,
Miami gets that conference championship though.
True, but defending national champions with pretty similar offense, different quarterback, but a very good quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot to think about. I guess if we're not talking about the top 4 here, Mike, I'm sorry to just cut you off. Out of anyone who's not in the top 4 up until 15, which one of these teams do you think you've seen the most out of? Which team do you think should be way higher than they
UCF.
are?
No.
You think UCF?
No.
I'll tell you a team I love that I don't think is getting a lot of respect. You may hate me for this, Washington State. Oh my gosh, Luke Falk. I'm sorry, I can't say enough about. I love Luke Falk.
I was hoping you were going to mention something about the jerseys and the swag they had before you said Luke Falk.
They have a lot of swag too.
I don't know. I saw Washington State against Cal.
Right.
And that was my biggest sample size of them. I actually sat through was like middle of first quarter all the way to the end of that game, and it's Washington State just gave me a very, very bad impression.
If they can beat Washington, a number 18 team, I think they'll win the Pac-12 North. And to be honest, that's going to be a game versus USC. I think it'll be interesting. I feel like USC very, very low key with Sam Darnold, who was supposed to be at the start of the season like the first overall quarterback taken in the 2018 draft. They're very low-key making noise. Another team, Mike, I saw you just pull them up. Oklahoma State.
Yeah, I was just about to mention. I saw a little stat on Twitter. In the college football playoff era so far, any team that was ever ranked outside the top 9 never made the playoffs, or it was something like that. So I was thinking any teams that can make it out there. I was thinking maybe a little Oklahoma State. I mean, it would have helped if TCU beat Oklahoma.
Right.
But, I mean, Oklahoma State lost to both of them, so it really doesn't matter. I mean, Oklahoma State's talented. They got the offense. They just really don't have the defense. I mean, and their remaining schedule really doesn't help them out either with Kansas State and KU.
The schedule's not going to cover a lot up.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like talent-wise, they're a team that should be up there. It's just a shame that they had that loss to TCU earlier in the year.
Man, what happened? I'm sorry, NC State. Remember when they were making noise in the ACC? That's been sad to watch. I actually thought NC State would make an ACC championship.
They're ranked number 19 right now. It's just that loss against Notre Dame. It's that loss against Clemson that's just really gonna mess things up. NC State just has to win out against Wake and UNC. They'll be 7-1 in the conference, and Clemson just has to lose to Miami, so they have 2 conference losses.
Right.
Then I think if Clemson loses to Miami, which is a real possibility, would NC State be in the conference championship? Because Clemson would be 7-2 in the conference, and NC State would be 7-1.
I'll tell you what, this ACC's fun this year. We got a Wake Forest team who's 6-4. I have to give a shout out because of all my friends who go to the school. But UVA is 6-4 this year.
That's actually very interesting. So if Miami beats Clemson, and Clemson doesn't make the ACC championship game, what does that do? So I think Miami could eliminate Clemson, or would they still make it? Because I think that's tricky. Because if they play one more conference game than NC State has, that just unbalances everything. They have the same amount of wins, but Clemson has more losses. But is that fair? That doesn't make sense.
I mean, there's so much that goes into this. It's not even just like we think it's as simple as strength of schedule, wins, losses, all that. But they really do evaluate everything. I really just think that if Miami does their job, they should get the respect they deserve and still be in that playoff.
I'm just confused how that works in the standings though. If they both have 7 wins, but Clemson has 2 losses in the conference compared to NC State's 1.
So say the season were to end right now, and these top 4 rankings are basically no matter what, boom.
All right, these top 4 is the playoff right now.
Right. This is the playoffs right now.
Okay.
Let's talk about it game by game. Let's start Alabama versus
Oklahoma.
Oklahoma. What are the games?
Does Baker Mayfield take down the Crimson Tide? Or?
I'll say this right now. That's going to be a great game, but Alabama's going to prevail when it's all said and done. It's Alabama in a big-time stage, college football playoff. It's Nick Saban. We know what we're getting with Nick Saban. Don't get me wrong. Baker Mayfield's as hot as anyone right now.
Baker Mayfield, senior, planting the field in the middle of Ohio State. He's really cocky. I'm going Oklahoma in this game.
You think?
I mean, I think this is one of Alabama's weaker teams. I was watching that Mississippi State game. I was seeing there's no reason a team like Oklahoma, Clemson, maybe even Miami, if they can keep this up and this isn't a fluke, can definitely beat them.
Nick Saban alone, though, has the experience to outcoach in this game.
I mean, yeah, it's the same thing we see every year. We have the Steelers playing the Patriots for their 30th straight AFC Championship game. Well, we think the Steelers are going to win because the Patriots have been here, done that, so we just think it's their time to end, but it isn't. But I think this is their time to end. I think this is Oklahoma could beat Alabama because I think just the strength of Baker Mayfield saying, all right, I'm a senior. Let's go. Let's get her done.
I'll tell you what right now. I'm going to go with Alabama, and I'm going to stick firmly by that. A team that I'm going to go with, and you may pop off on me. If the University of Miami continues to play one of the top, if they continue to play that top-tier defense, that elite defense I've seen all season. This team is phenomenal on defense.
Chain.
It's the turnover chain. If that offense can do whatever the hell they just did versus Notre Dame, I think they'll outduel Clemson, even with Dabo Swinney and Kelly Bryant. I think this is a great Miami football team, and I'm a believer in this offense.
I think it obviously depends on health for Clemson. So Kelly Bryant, he was limped up for that Syracuse game, very limped up for that Syracuse game, a big reason why they lost, and a decent part of the season when they're struggling. But if he's healthy, I just like Clemson. I think he's better than Brandon Wimbush. I mean, even Brandon Wimbush, when they smacked up on Temple, he played really good, but I just didn't see, he's going to go get Notre Dame a national championship. No. I think Kelly Bryant, being under Dabo Swinney, I think Dabo Swinney is going to be that next coach. We were all talking about. I think Clemson could start a little something here. I think they should play Alabama first round. I think that'll be a very, very neat matchup. I mean, because I think they should be number 4 right now, not number 2. But I think against Miami, I just like Clemson taking that game. I think
Oklahoma has the wins that Clemson doesn't have, but Clemson has the respect that Oklahoma doesn't have.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, when you win a national championship and you come back the next year and people say your team's even better, you're going to get that respect no matter how shaky you are, no matter what happens. 100%. But they're still a good team, though. Don't get me wrong. So
Alabama wins game 1.
So my scenario will be Oklahoma Clemson, and your scenario it'll be Alabama Miami. I love it. Alabama's definitely smacking up on Miami.
If I could be honest,
Oklahoma will beat Clemson.
I gotta be honest. I think it's Alabama, Clemson, just because like.
Been there, done that. Been there, done that.
Been there, done that. Yeah, I don't know.
I feel that.
No Deshaun Watson, but also still got Clemson.
All right, what are these next? All right, let's say going all the way to 10. What are any other teams that can win the national championship?
You know what we should do? How about what about this? What if we did 5, 6, 7, and 8? What if those 4 teams were the top 4?
What if those 4 teams were the top 4?
What if Wisconsin, Auburn,
what if we had
Georgia, and Notre Dame? What if we had an 18 playoff?
We should do an 18 playoff.
Let's do this, because you know what the NCAA won't, and that's bull crud.
So we'll do it. We'll do it.
So we got Alabama versus Notre Dame.
Notre Dame.
Okay, Alabama.
Yeah.
We got Clemson versus Georgia.
That's a good.
That's
2 freshman quarterbacks.
Game.
Very, very solid defenses. Big defensive lines. Teams that rely on running. Georgia's a little bit more old school.
You're speculating.
You're over here solving the crime of the century, Taylor. What are your findings?
I'm gonna go with, if we're doing 5 to 8, right? So Wisconsin will play Notre Dame, correct?
Oh no, we're doing an 18 playoff. We're doing 2 to 7 right now.
Yeah. Okay. So Alabama, we've decided.
So Alabama's gonna take care of Notre Dame.
Yep. Clemson versus Georgia.
I don't need to talk about that. Clemson versus Georgia.
That's interesting.
I love.
You have
Clemson.
2 similar.
I have not seen enough from Jake Fromm to let me know that he's going to beat Kelly Bryant or outduel Dabo Swinney in that game, 100%.
I feel it. I respect that. I respect that.
No, dude, Georgia got smacked.
Miami, Auburn.
Auburn. Auburn. I kind of like
Auburn. You want to know why? Because Auburn's got the defense and the offense. Miami can only consistently give you the defense. Who knows?
Yeah, well, we saw Auburn get shut down by elite level defense in Clemson earlier in the year, only putting up 6 points.
I'll give you that. This is a different Auburn team. This is
honestly, I'm starting to buy in
a
a little bit more to your Miami hype because I like that whole turnover chain thing.
They're awesome.
They get after the ball. That's why I like that.
No, defensively, yeah,
they're a rally team on defense, and I like that. But I think Miami will beat Auburn. I just think matchup wise, Miami would beat Auburn because of that speed. I just think Miami. I just think Miami could beat Auburn this year. It's just something just watching this business.
Okay, Wisconsin, Oklahoma, no debate. Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, I was about to say Baker Mayfield. I mean, Wisconsin's this good every
Wisconsin
year,
will find a way to make it a 1-touchdown game, but it'll seem like Oklahoma is winning 50.
So he tells me Wisconsin's gonna play really, really good until this game, and then they were actually lose 45 to
like Western Michigan last year. Remember that?
Do you think Wisconsin?
I don't think Wisconsin is like no. Wisconsin is like the Kansas City Chiefs. You know, It's all about long increment.
So should we not even Should we not even worry about University of Wisconsin making the playoffs then, Taylor?
No, well, I'm not gonna say don't worry about it because at the end of the day,
they're still winning.
12-0. They're 12-0. If they win the Big Ten, they win the Big Ten. They're not playing Oklahoma. Oklahoma's in the Big 12. I'm not saying disregard them. I'm saying in this scenario, Oklahoma. But they have no chance of playing each other unless they were both in the playoff.
But also, let's be honest.
If they were both in the playoff, though, Oklahoma.
These top 4 teams, there's no chance that they're really going to be losing.
Like I said, Wisconsin has no resume or no bragging rights.
It's definitely going to change. That top 4 will...
Wisconsin will get bragging rights the day they finish out 12-0 and win the Big Ten.
All right.
That looks like the top 4 to me.
Well, when the Final 4 ranking comes out, when it's the official playoff 4 rankings, how many of these top 4 teams do you think are still going to be in there?
2.
When it comes out?
2. I think.
Which teams?
I think at the
Alabama
end of the day,
and Clemson.
I think at the end of the day, if I had to make a guess, I'm not going to say Alabama and Clemson. I'm going to go with... Ooh, this is a tough decision. Well, obviously, I'm going to think Alabama's winning that game. I'm going to go with Alabama and the U. I'm a big believer in this Miami team. I think ACC on ACC. I think Rozier will outduel Kelly Bryant, and I think they have the defense to hold Kelly Bryant. And like you said, Mike, Kelly Bryant's been banged up recently, and Miami's offense is not slowing down right now. They are not slowing down. It's going to be a great game to watch. I'm a big believer in the U. You can say what you want.
I'm Bama, Clemson, literally because of the same reason.
It's going to be the U versus Alabama for the national title. I love the sound of that.
I'm Bama, Oklahoma. I think those two are the closest you can get the locks. I think Clemson will most likely be in there, but I don't think they're a lock. I think Alabama, it's just pedigree. I think they'll beat Auburn. They'll probably go on to Georgia, beat Georgia and Atlanta for the SEC championship. But Oklahoma, they just have to beat Kansas State and beat Kansas, and that's all they got to worry about. Get those 2 wins, they'll stay there. I mean, if you look at these teams, Ohio State can't jump them because Oklahoma beat Ohio State on the road. Wisconsin is going to wait till later in the year to jump them, and by that time, one of Miami and Clemson is going to be out. And the chances of 2 SEC teams being in there, I just think just doesn't work out. Alabama and Auburn playing, it's. I just don't think it will work out.
Let's say Auburn beats Alabama. Does Alabama go out of the top 4? Or do they still somehow hang on 4?
It depends how they look that game, because I think eye test does say a lot. Alabama had a close game with Mississippi State. They found a way to win, but if they have a close game with Auburn, Alabama will have to look good. They'll have to get outdueled by Auburn, not handled by Auburn. Like, they'll have to have a really good game. They'll have to play really good and lose by a little, not play really bad and really lose. It's
so you
it's
know
a tough
what?
situation.
There's a lot of really good teams. There's a lot of, and you know what the best part is? Not even Auburn State. What a shame. Because the best team in Pennsylvania right now currently sits at number 10 when it sat at number 4 earlier. But let's talk about some in-state football teams. Let's talk about a particular little one in Philadelphia that's been making some comeback efforts.
Exactly, they're going to be playing the number 15th ranked team. Speaking of a team trying to get in the top 4,
did you guys know that
UCF.
We can't leave them out? They are undefeated. I mean, you can never leave it out.
UCF's technically playing for a top 4 spot. If you look at the commercial, all teams are in. So UCF technically is playing for a spot. So it is a big game for them.
Well,
It's a big game for Temple too.
All right, well, let's start out with basically like what's happened recently.
When was the last time Temple lost compared to
Well, I'm going to
their
start
win
out. All right,
since?
so first off, let's start out with how the season started, how it obviously didn't start the way we want, but since we've lost to UConn and Army back-to-back games, we've now won 2 straight games. Both of those 2 games, Frank Newtyler was in the game. Both those games, he's been fantastic. Both those games, he's shown dominance, and the defenses look great. Now, I don't know if this is Temple finally getting their sea legs and finally being able to play football again under Jeff Collins, or if this is the quarterback. But one thing's for sure that has made me outraged is this Logan Marshy experiment, or whatever we were doing earlier with Logan Marshy, should have never happened. I understand the ideology behind it, but after that loss to USF, there should have been no debate. I want Frank Newtylen versus Houston. I think we beat Houston with Frank Newtylen and Army and UConn. And that's a completely different season at a 5-5 team right now. Think about that. Now, going forward, if he's not the secure guy, then I may transfer. Because to be honest, I've seen enough in the 2-3 games that Frank Newtyle's been in than I've seen all year from Logan Marshy. Frank Newtyle is way more accurate, has the arm. He's older. I get that Logan Marshy was the young guy, and we wanted to develop Logan Marshy and the trust the process with Logan Marshy experiment.
That's what Santeo's for.
Yeah, exactly. But this team is still great, and I almost see this optimism. Now, we've won 2 straight games. We're playing UCF. Great team, 9-0, number 15. At home. Mike, do you realistically see with a hot Frank Newtylen and Temple football team that, I can't believe I'm saying this, looks good, having a chance to beat UCF this weekend?
Yeah, I think so.
And why? Why do you think this week Temple's going to come in at the link and take out a number 15 team?
You better answer, Mike. You better do it.
This is going to be a questionable answer. No, I think Temple's not playing their best football. I still think their best football is yet to come. But they're at home. They're starting to buy in. I can tell these players.
They seem more committed.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is great. Which is great.
The offense just seems to flow better. Even this
Isaiah Wright.
The last game against Cincinnati, I wasn't able to watch it, but I heard it on the radio, and I just even sound just the offense just sounded just like it just moved better. It's just everything was just going better.
Temple they did not get a touchdown, but they got a field goal, and it was on 4 plays. I told you, I'm texting you, Mike, I hadn't seen offense like that since Phillip Walker, Jahad Thomas just busting it right down the field. They had more power versus Cincinnati.
Exactly.
Run.
Being home, our last home game too, we want to be bowl eligible. We're obviously look at the Tulsa game right after, say, oh, we can just beat them, we can be bowl eligible 6-6, but realistically, if we want to secure ourselves being a bowl, we gotta beat a high ranked team, and UCF is presenting an opportunity to be like, hey guys, we're ranked in the teens, come beat us, and you'll definitely be in a bowl.
Right.
So the opportunity is there, and if I'm Jeff Collins and company, I'm saying the opportunity is there. We're
it's
home.
100%
we
there.
need a big win,
and the season is far.
And we're starting to play our best football, and we want to end the season strong. And listen, because this program still has a lot of unfinished business. We still did not win a bowl game under Matt Rule. So it's not like those players be like, okay, well, under Matt, we're sad Matt Rule left, but under him we didn't win a bowl game. We still have that opportunity. So to do that, we have to beat UCF. And that's how I view this game.
And
if I'm a Temple out.
I see it as this. A lot of people said the season was chalked. Yes, the conference championship hopes and the hopes for a somewhat decent bowl were chalked a long ways ago, but nothing has ever really truly been chalked for this team. They sit at 5-5. 500 record. They can finish out this regular season. If I'm Jeff Collins right now, I'm telling these kids in the locker room right now, you can finish out this season 7-5, win a bowl game, go 8-5. If Temple football goes 8-5 in their first year under Jeff Collins and wins a bowl, I don't call this season a failure.
And just think about
Not
this.
at
All those kids right there, majority of those kids are like Matt Rule recruited kids, and a lot of them are going to be graduating soon. And under the Matt Rule era, 3 straight bowl games.
None.
Like not a lot of Temple football alum could say that.
Right.
They still have a lot of history to make, and beating UCF could really start that.
Right.
So I think this is a big opportunity for Temple because there's still a lot of program this program still has to do.
And I
think these kids are finally starting to realize that.
And I think people also have to realize that we still have a lot of players returning on offense yet again next year. And if Frankie Juice, I don't know. They call him that. They call him that on ESPN. The guy, every time he made a completed pass, he'd be like Frankie Juice. Like the announcer absolutely adored his nickname, and it made me so warm. But going forward, Frank Newtile has been fantastic recently. I love what I see. Accurate, does not make a lot of decisions. Decisions that were misplaced by him are very rare, very few. And I want to see this kid win us 3 straight. Finish out here. We'll finish out the season with 5 straight wins, a bowl. Man, if we can get an 8-5 record, I'm loving this because we have to remember we only won 2 games under Matt Rule in his first year here at Temple, and look how long that took to come together. If we can already get an 8-5 record and a bowl win in our first year, we're already making more progress than we did at the start with Matt Rule.
Well, that brings up a big concern then. Now that I'm starting to interrupt, but I'm thinking, like, for example, with Collins being bad right now, or not really bad, but being rather mediocre right now, in a couple years, if Temple gets better with him, what's to say that, Jeff Collins won't leave to just go to another college and then his experiment? Will Temple ever find, and like Mike said, there's still history that needs to be made, but will history ever even have the chance to be made? Because it seems like a lot of coaches come here to just build up their resume and then dip right out.
I feel like
because we're not a Power 5 school.
And that's a shame.
That's where they want to coach.
Coaches are coming for takeout. They're not coming to sit down and eat their meal. Temple football is takeout.
We need Buddy Stevens.
It's the drive-through on the road trip to get to their path. You know what I mean? It's just another stop on the road. I do agree. That's a good point, Mass. And I do feel like that, but I try to not hope that way. I mean, we got our hopes up with Matt Rule, and he left us, and sure, that's that. But Jeff Collins can still make this team 8-5, and this is very important because we have to remember Matt Rule was great at recruiting. And it's not been a great year, but if we can finish out 8-5 and get that bowl, that helps a lot with recruiting because we're going to lose players over the years, and if we can't keep up that legacy that Matt Rule left, then we're probably going to stay in the same place. The reason Temple football was able to be so good is because Matt Rule trusted the process. He started out and he recruited. He built the team up to back-to-back conference title appearances, back-to-back division titles, 3 straight bowls, all that. Jeff Collins has to figure that out. And I think step 1 is figuring out a secure quarterback, and I finally can take a breath and say that I think we found that in Frank Newtile. And looking at the bigger picture here going forward, we are still going to have a lot of people moving forward. We still have some recruits, and we're still capable of being right back in an American Athletic Conference Championship by the time we graduate if we play the cards right. But no cards are even going to be on the table unless we went out here and created a name for ourselves for recruits, in my opinion.
I think a big problem with this team, though, that I'm worried about moving into next year, despite, Frank Newtile actually playing, very well, is actually the defense. And I do think while the defense isn't playing bad, if you look at, their points, allowing, the offense has had to respond a lot. They haven't won a game without allowing less than 24 points from an opponent since ECU. And before that was UMass and Nova. And those aren't opponents, that aren't really oh, wow, we allowed 20.
The thing about that Navy game, they're dominating the whole game.
But it wasn't.
It's just Navy
It's not just the Navy game, though. It's Army, it's UConn, it's USF that happens, and Notre Dame that happens. But Army, UConn, and Navy, these aren't teams. And Cincinnati, too, 24 points. I don't know. It seems like maybe Cincinnati with 24. But it seems like the Temple defense, it was also because the offense, I guess, is readjusting with Newtile. But next year, not all the same players are going to be there. You can't trust the system.
Isaiah Wright and Raquel Armstead. All I need is Isaiah Wright.
But I'm just worried at the end of the day if the defense can, because while the offenses look good, you better not hope it has to score 30 points every game to have to answer everything. Is Newtile that good to score 30 points every game? If so, then hey, you got a nice situation. But if not, you could have Temple losing games 21-28, and it's it sucks because we played good on the offense and they have a good defense, but our defense sucked.
Well, we're definitely going to get a test because, UCF is a very high-scoring football team.
We have a chance to knock off a team, whether anyone wants to say it or not because they play in the AAC, a team that is competing for a college football playoff spot on our home turf this afternoon on Saturday. That's the motto.
Yeah, that's the thing. They average
It's
the
an
most points per game.
opportunity.
They average the most points per game in the nation, 47.7. So Mass brings up that point with the defense. That's a scary thought. This could get ugly, or
It could be like a 63 to
honestly,
like 20 game.
it's the tone will be set on the kickoff. We have to set the tone soon as that foot meets that ball
big
to start this
play.
game. Right off the bat, we
A
can't
3
wait
and out
because
touchdown.
you saw that USF game. How many opportunities did Temple have to take over that game?
In the first half, too many.
Oh, I'm not even the first half. The first 8 minutes. How many opportunities did Temple have to take over that
Well,
game?
USF gave away, what was it, an interception or a fumble?
Interception. I think both.
A 3 and out,
Mhm.
and then we were only down 13-3 at the time.
And we got
It's
another
about 2
lucky
months
turnover
ago.
as well too, didn't we?
Yeah, but
It's just a thing with Temple. We just have to. You have to capitalize on opportunities. Even in Notre Dame game, we had a chance. We were down by 3 possessions, but it was only like 17 points or something. We were in the red zone. We had a chance to get a touchdown. Chip in. We'd still be in that game, but we blow it.
Austin Jones,
Mhm.
the player, I think of Mike Jones interception. Yeah, Mike Jones.
I mean, Temple just has to capitalize on opportunities, and against UCF, we're really that's what's key. It's going to be that first moment we have a chance to take over momentum. We have to do it, and I think this team's starting to get there, especially against Navy, because that Navy game was going to be hard, but it was a lot more easier than I thought it would be.
Very one-sided. Took care of it completely.
And the Navy's
all
a good team,
quarters,
too.
All 4 quarters. we won
Navy's
it.
a really good team.
So final question for you, because I think we should move on to some Temple basketball, get some more Temple talk in for the time we got. But if final question, I'm sorry, Temple bowl eligible for the end of the season? Mike, yes or no?
They'll be bowl eligible.
They'll be bowl eligible.
It's just a
100%.
matter if they make a bowl.
Yeah, they'll be bowl eligible. If they do make a bowl, best case scenario at 8-5. Realistically, I could see us back in either the Military Bowl or they may throw us back down in Boca at the bowl. I could even see the Popeyes Bahamas Bowl.
Popeyes Bahamas Bowl.
Which would be lit. Are we eligible for that?
What?
I don't know actually. Is that Mac and
I'm not sure.
I could be Mac and American.
No,
It's not gonna be
American.
flashy.
Americans usually Boca Raton. I don't think we'll get Boca because we'll get something less than the Boca.
Probably.
What are some other ACC bowl games? 'Cause not a lot of ACC teams make it into bowl games. That's the thing. But with the Philadelphia market, I think we'll be in. But I think a win against UCF solidifies Temple will 100% be in a bowl. But just a loss against UCF and just a win against Tulsa,
We'll see.
come on.
A Temple team that we would definitely won't have to worry about coming in this year is the Temple basketball team, starting this Thursday, November 16th, against the Old Dominion
We don't think we don't have
Monarchs.
to worry about them yet.
I don't think we have to. Personally, I
Yeah.
don't think. From what I've been hearing, and it does look like the basketball team. And last year, the basketball team was definitely looking better than what the football team was looking like. So I don't know. I think it's a good year for Temple looking into basketball. What do you think, Taylor?
I think it's going to be a great year. The only thing that worries me is Temple's ability and a way to always find a way to mess things up. Now, the players are there. The coach is there. It's Fran Dunphy. I mean, do I even have to go in? Fran Dunphy's done enough for this university. And the team's there. And I said this quite recently. A player that's going to make a huge difference on this Temple basketball team is Josh Brown. He averaged the most minutes on that NCAA tournament team with Quentin DeCozy, where we lost in the first round to Iowa on a tip-in. He was the second leading scorer that year.
Tip-in.
First in assists. Having Josh Brown on the court is going to make a big difference, and I'll tell you why. Because Josh Brown is the missing piece you need to win games late and to win games in the second half. When you give Josh Brown the ball, you trust Josh Brown. Josh Brown makes plays. He extends plays. He can do it all. And when I give Josh Brown the ball at the end of the game, he's the Kobe. He's the guy you need. Quentin Rose is fantastic. I think he's going to have another big year. But just last year, having Quentin Rose and Shiz Alston out there with a minute left versus UConn or Cincy, I don't trust those guys out there to beat a team like UConn or Cincy. But when I have Josh Brown out there with Quentin Rose and Shiz, let's not even get started. Damian Moore looked fantastic at the end of last year. My only concern, and Mike, you're gonna go off about this too. I know you're gonna have a lot to say about this guy, Obi.
Yeah.
Obi needs to have the senior year. And we've beat that one into the ground. But you want to know what? It's true. Obi needs to have the senior year. He needs to start living up. We have seniors on this team, Shiz, Obi, Josh. It's a great team. These recruits, I'm loving. I'm hearing great things about Pierre Lewis, Nate Pierre Lewis. I'm hearing great things about J.P. Mormon. I really think Alani Moore is going to have a big year himself. He's a great shooter. He's maybe not the most versatile option. He can only really do one or two things from the perimeter as a shooter. But overall, he's a fast guy, a guy that you get open will stay consistent. So the pieces all together are there. It's just a matter of if the mentality is there, because this team has this expectation that they were supposed to live up to last year, especially after beating a WVU team and a Florida State team right off the bat, 2 ranked opponents. There was this expectation that Temple basketball was going to get right back to the tournament, but SMU happened, UCF happened, Cincinnati happened, even UConn happened with Jalen Adams. But this year, we have to understand the bigger picture here. UCF's not going to be as good as last year. UConn's going to be good, but hey, you want to know what? It's the same exact UConn team as last year. A UConn team we should have beat both games. Cincinnati's going to be the big one, and of course, last but not least, Wichita State. It's going to be Cincinnati and Wichita State. And this team may not win the AAC in the regular season. They may not even win in the AAC tournament, but if they can finish in the top 3 in the regular season and compete for an AAC tournament championship, have some flashy wins. I see potential to beat Wisconsin, a juicy game. I see potential to beat South Carolina, another juicy win to give us the resume we need. It's all there. And it's the matter of, and it's cliche to say this, how bad does this team want this and where are their heads at? 100%.
And do you think that, despite it being like his 12th season as head coach, that Fran Dunphy's got what it takes to lead
I
this
think
team
the
to
Dump
this
is getting old. You can definitely tell his decision-making has slowed
This
down
is
a
the
little
12th
bit.
year. And
No disrespect to Mr. Dunphy, Coach Dunphy, but I'd be interested to see what he does with this team because we've seen how good of a coach he is, how he makes the
He
right
does have a good overall record.
makes the
I mean,
right decisions when he's needed to make them. But last year, he made some questionable decisions, and maybe he didn't have the team or the healthy team that he wanted. You know, obviously with Josh and Trey out for the season, and Mark really being the only senior on the team, and Mark could only do so much. You know, Mark Williams. So I think Fran Dunphy with a healthy team now has a lot more to play with. They're going back to small ball. I heard recently. I was watching an interview with Alani Moore. A big thing they want to focus on this year is playing more small ball, not trying to complicate things. This is Temple basketball. The talent is there, the speed is there, the pieces are there. We just need to trust our game. And he even admitted they didn't prepare enough. They didn't know what they were getting into, but now that they've known these teams and guys like Alani and Quentin are both sophomores, experienced, I think Quentin's going to be fantastic. I could go off about Quentin. He was in my urban studies group. I love Quentin. He's a good guy. He's a good player, and he's great. He's young still.
Speaking of urban studies group, Damian Moore is in ours.
Yeah.
That's funny. Damian Moore is a dude. He's funny.
He's going to be good.
But yeah, I mean, speaking of like, we definitely want to get more into 3-point shooting. You saw that last year with the guard play and everything. But you know, with those veteran pieces, Josh Brown and Obi Echinonia, that with me, that's supposed to come with defense. They're supposed to bring the defense, in my opinion. I mean, Quentin still needs a little fill out. You see him walk around campus.
Yeah.
He still needs a little meat to his body. You know, he's really good. He's really shifty, but I think a little bit more meat to his body would just complete him. But I think that's where we struggled a lot last year. It was his defense. We just see games last year. Exactly.
Yeah.
Late in games, we'll just get tired and we'll just, okay, well, they keep scoring. Well, they keep scoring. Well, we can't stop them. Well, we'll foul them. Well, they'll just make both foul shots. Then they'll keep scoring on us. Then, nope. We just lost in the final second shot because our defense is so bad.
UConn hurt.
That's what exactly. UConn,
George
Tulsa,
Washington.
yeah, Tulsa exactly.
We
George
blew
Washington
a game. Remember when we played Cincinnati when they were like 14th ranked in Cincinnati? We blew that game.
Yeah, with Tulsa.
Alston
Yeah,
blew
we had
that
Tulsa
game.
in January. We had Central Florida beat us by 2 points in February. You know, we had all these close games last year. That's
Right.
the thing. And with Josh Brown, you know, finally off that, you know, Achilles soreness. You know, I was reading an article by one of our editors.
He feels
Couple
great.
News.
He
He
feels
feels
great,
great. He's
yeah.
ready to go. That's what they're telling us. And hey, he's ready to go. I'm ready to go. That's all that
100%.
matters. I mean, so I mean, there's a lot looking up because this team had a really big growth year.
Right.
And you know, our editors are also saying, you know, Obi's starting to get back into form. He's looking a lot better. He's working on his game, become more versatile. It's just that defense, and I think that will really bring us because you know we're that Temple, we're integrating North Philadelphia City. We need to bring that defense. That's what we need. I think as soon as we get that, we'll be fine because offense will be there.
Right.
It's just a matter of who plays defense.
Right.
That's how you do stuff.
And I think a guy this year that's going to step up big defensively, as you mentioned him earlier, Damian Moore. I think Damian Moore is going to be a very valid piece. He's a big man. He can do a lot at that middle position there. Obi, for his size, needs to start playing more defense. He lacked a lot of defense last season. I'll give you that.
So Fran Dunphy never made a Sweet 16.
Never made a Sweet 16.
Never made a Sweet 16. We have people like this on our resume saying we do at least beat a couple of these. We could beat Wichita State. We could have wins against UConn on our resume. Villanova, Wisconsin. We also have St. Joe's.
Right.
Memphis, SMU goes on. Cincinnati.
It's loaded.
If we can get one win against Cincinnati,
But
we can definitely get in the tournament.
The
Do you
painful
think?
thing.
What are the top matchups that Temple needs to win in order to? What are the
Well,
key?
I was just going to say
Nova,
the painful
definitely.
thing that we forget about was we have a new team in the conference. I don't think I have to say their name, but they're very good. They're number 6 in the nation. Wichita State.
If we get one win against them, one win against Cincinnati, can beat Wisconsin, it was a very winnable game. They're not even ranked right now. They lost Nigel Hayes. You know,
a lot of guys.
Exactly. You know that's whole Sam
juicy.
Decker.
I said it's juicy. It's home.
Exactly.
It's our first home game.
Season opener. People are going to be out. That game's going to be popping.
Packed, yeah.
Exactly. It's going to be fun.
Because the beginning of the season looks relatively easy, and then you get thrown right into Villanova. So you got Old Dominion, LaSalle.
Well, I'll say this. So we play Old Dominion tomorrow. Obviously, I don't want to disrespect Old Dominion, but
that just can't be a
That can't be a loss.
Yeah, that can't be like a Manhattan upset loss or whatever. Like
no,
that can't happen.
We have to smack. If we don't smack, then we
play
get
LaSalle.
I think the Old Dominion game, that's in Charleston, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a tournament game.
I
We'll
see
go
a
on to either play Auburn or Indiana State after that game if we win.
I see a
win.
4-0 start if you ask me. I don't care what.
Oh,
I'm not disrespecting South Carolina.
South Carolina lost their best player, SEC Player of the Year. The reason that they made it to the Final Four last year, he's playing for the Los Angeles Clippers now. So
Yeah.
is South Carolina that perennial program? And now all of a sudden, no,
They're
they just
not even
lost a
ranked.
reason. The reason they made it to the Final Four last year just graduated. So where are we at with South Carolina?
I think George Washington on
Go
the road,
Gamecocks.
definitely. Obviously, after
Gamecocks.
last season, we were at that game. It's great, and I mean, the big one for us personally at home on a Wednesday, it'll be a Wednesday night on ESPN2, is Villanova now.
Mm-hmm.
I see a sellout. I see either a really ugly game or the best night of our lives as Temple students so far. Mike, which one do you think it'll be?
One you can't remember, that's for sure.
If we're coming off a 4-0 start, we do beat Wisconsin. Say we start 6-0, we're going in 6-0 against Villanova. I think we can win. I don't see no reason. Villanova's look a little bit bigger than recent years, but they will have to rely on freshmen a little bit earlier in the season. Waiting to get the whole band, everybody at full strength. But
Maybe
I think Villanova's a vulnerable opponent.
I'm down to do a little Villanova Temple live drinking game with the TFL crew. Just watch us get hammered as we analyze the game live, play by play, something like
we can
that.
Definitely do that.
And watch the Temple team
go down.
It's gonna be a
fun
in
game
flames.
now.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We're college students. The fans understand.
Yeah.
It's all fun. It's all an experience.
Now that's
So
gonna,
other
that's
than
gonna be an
Villanova-
important game.
Other than Villanova, I see Cincinnati twice
We
and
have-
Wichita State. Are those also?
We have to beat both of them at
Memphis
least
is going
once.
to be good this year. Memphis is
Yeah,
lucky.
SMU
Memphis is gonna be
is
like-
obviously going to be good. We have to beat Wichita State once. I think
I don't
those
get why
home-
people disrespect this conference. This is a hard conference.
This is a really good conference. This is a really good
Honestly,
conference.
It
Yeah.
is.
It's getting
I
better
see
too.
Connecticut twice. I see Cincinnati twice. My gosh, you got Wichita
It just comes
State.
to a point where we can't lose to Tulsa at home.
Right.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
That's the thing that happened last year. We will lose to Tulsa at home. No. Don't lose to Tulsa at home. It will be fine. Don't lose to
That's
Tulsa.
the secret.
Exactly.
That's how we make
it is.
the
They
tournament.
probably have it in
That
their
is the
locker
secret
room.
to success. Do not lose to Tulsa Golden Hurricane.
Or East Carolina in the first
NCAA.
round.
Exactly.
of
Don't
the
do that.
AAC
Just don't do
tournament.
that and we'll be
They having
fine.
bright, large neon lights in the
But
Temple locker room.
I think
Don't lose to Tulsa.
The-
or
Please,
East
for the love of
God,
Or
do
East
not
Carolina.
lose to Tulsa. But we have to be.
But Houston's okay.
The Wichita State and Cincinnati games at home aren't must-wins, but they're must-wins. Like, those are wins that you will love to have on your resume. And if they're losses, they better be losses by less than 3 points.
That's a Thursday night on ESPN2. It's at home.
Exactly.
We'll be
National
there.
televised,
Be
they'll be home.
Be
We'll
there.
we'll be there. So that should be a game they should play hard and be ready to win. And who knows, Wichita State could be the number one team in the nation by that, or they could fall off and be like, yep, Wichita State was overrated and be nothing by that.
One thing
So
I'm
who knows?
extremely excited for, and I know Mike attests for me, but I will 100% be tuning in on it during my Sustainable Environments class tomorrow on ESPN3 because we're playing Old Dominion. A big thing I saw in an article
We'll be
recently
tuned.
is in one way, shape, or form, every Temple game will be broadcasted this year. I already see 6 games on ESPN.
Oh, CBS Sports Network. How am I going to watch that?
Sports, we got a couple. We got ESPNU, ESPN News. There's a lot of games we're going to get.
The thing
Which
about
is
the
exciting.
thing about CBS Sports, you can't get that on the Fire Stick.
You cannot get that on the Fire
No,
Stick. And
that's
I
disappointing.
actually-
I missed the Army game because of it.
So at Verizon, I'm going to put you guys on Twitter right now. So this is, imagine I'm tweeting this. I want to know why I'm paying for the sports package, but I don't get the 2 most important channels, which are NHL TV and CBS Sports Network. Why am I paying for the sports package if you're not giving me Joe Beninati and Craig Laughlin,
Exactly.
my beloved Washington Capitals announcers who I would die to have at my wedding? You know what I mean? You don't even let me have them in my life. Now I have this empty hole in my life. And now you're not giving me CBS Sports, which is my dosage of Temple that I need to stay wired and focused in the day. They're basically just saying, you want to know what? You can just go screw yourself. I want you to crumble
good thing
and
is
see your demise.
Good thing is we'll be at the St. Joe's game. for that CBS Sports Network.
Exactly.
We got a little Sal action on NBC Sports Network. That's good though.
So
George Washington's not even being broadcast.
So it's going to be a process with this team. It's definitely going to be a process. But speaking of processes or processes, Mike, I think you know where I'm going to go with this now.
I think I do.
I think it's time to move on to our next topic.
Next.
Let's talk about some NBA processes. And you know what? Why don't we start with which is considered the most popular one.
The only one.
Let's start. No, there's a couple more. Let's say, because you know what? Fine. We're gonna talk about the Celtics now. No, I'm playing. Actually, I do want to talk about the Celtics, but I want to move on to the process of the 76ers. How is it looking? What's wrong with it? What do they need to do before we move on to Kyrie Irving's just total domination?
The Sixers need LeBron.
Sixers need LeBron. We were talking about this earlier.
Yeah, we were talking about LeBron.
We have a third roommate who doesn't really watch sports as much, so we don't really take his opinion seriously. But he also said this, so maybe he's right for once.
We should start taking him seriously, I guess.
I don't know, maybe not that part. But
the Sixers looking good. I mean, they're sitting at 7-6. You look at games like the Kings. I was actually staying late at night. That was a little late night Sixers session in my bed. I had the game stream up on a laptop right before I was gonna go to bed, and I just saw them blow that game against the Kings, and I was just, come on, like that's, there's. You're gonna have things like that when you have a process like this. You have young players. You're gonna find a way to lose games, against other teams that you outplay for majority of the game. The Kings are young. They found a way to win, but teams are gonna find a way to lose, and that's gonna happen a lot with the Sixers. That's the only thing that's wrong. I mean, they're a really good team. They have talent, and you see that. I mean, Ben Simmons is just out of this world. Joel Embiid, if he stays healthy, he's gonna be the best center in the league for the next decade. I really believe that. But it's a matter of just they're young right now, so there's going to be a lot of games where they're just going to find every single way to lose and blow it. And it's going to happen. You saw that against the Kings. It happened. That's the most recent example. So they were stringing together some nice wins. They had a nice win in Utah to start off this Western Coast swing. They had the Lakers tonight. But it's just a matter, they just have to grow. That's all it is. I'm not worried. I still think they can make the playoffs. Because I think as soon as the season starts going, you'll realize, okay, the Knicks aren't really that good. Everything will start falling into place. You'll really start seeing everything spread out in the NBA. So that's where I think things will start opening up. But you got time. Just give it time. Everything will get better, but it's already pretty good right now.
I'll tell you what will get better with time, and I believe so because of this roster. What will get better with time is their consistency, Mike. You said it best. Now, this team's not too consistent. They win these games versus, like, the Rockets. They go on these win streaks. They look great, and then all of a sudden they lose to a team like the Kings. Played a great game. I'll give it to them versus the Golden State Warriors the other night. Best team in the West, gave them a fight.
Honestly, just for outside of a stretch for 5 minutes, it was a neck-and-neck game. It was just a stretch for 5 minutes where the Warriors were like, okay, we're just gonna not.
We just remember we have to go to the championship.
Yeah, we just remember let's just get a win real quick. So we're gonna go on a quick 25-2 run. Then this game will be fine.
I'm gonna give you a stat that's actually interesting before I lose it off the top of my head, since the Sixers are playing the Lakers tonight. So
it's another process.
So according to the Second Spectrum, 3 of the 4 fastest offensive players in the league are playing tonight. Ben Simmons, 5.2 miles per hour. He is second.
Ooh.
Steph Curry is 5.28 miles per hour, has the highest average speed on offense. That's a pretty interesting stat. I want to talk about that a little bit, Mike. Obviously, you said Ben Simmons. I made that clear about 3 weeks ago. Whatever's processing, it's not Ben Simmons, because Ben Simmons is already processed. He's already at 100% juiced up, ready to go, charged. I don't know if the rest of the team's at 70-80% on the iPhone. They haven't quite hit the when you get the thing where it's like low battery mode turned off, it's sufficiently charged. They haven't quite hit that yet. But if this team can learn how to win games late, because they have the offense and they have the team. Joel Embiid stays healthy, great. Ben Simmons stays healthy, fantastic. Even Robert Covington's a great piece to have on defense. Jared Bayless isn't what you're going to get out of a point guard, but you can't be picky when you have all these other good players around you. Like you said, it's a process.
You can never be mad to have a veteran run like that.
No, it's a total process, and I think it has a great mix, obviously with Redick, with Bayless in there, 2 veterans. Covington hasn't been in the league forever, but he's been in Philadelphia long enough to solidify himself. It's a matter of if this team can figure out why they're losing these games late and correct that, because I really don't see any reason why Philadelphia is not sitting in the NBA playoffs this year. I just can't trust them in the NBA playoffs because you said it best, Mike. Like, they'll find a way to lose games. They aren't consistent, and while they have all this young talent, I feel like they don't utilize it. But as soon as they figure that out, I I don't see why the Philadelphia 76ers aren't a top 3 East team before this year's all said and done.
Yeah, exactly.
I am actually worried, though, because here's the thing. If the Sixers, despite the roster looking good right now, for example, if Markelle Fultz doesn't pick up with, this injury doesn't, get back to 100%, and Ben Simmons is still playing like the greatest Ben Simmons we've seen
On Earth.
So
Greatest
far.
Ben Simmons on Earth.
Yeah, then Ben Simmons is going to leave the team. And I'm sorry to say that it sucks. And, Ben Simmons, I'm sure he's a great guy. I'm sure he's a nice person. But at the same time, Ben Simmons, I'm sure, also, one, wants to win championships, and two, could find bread somewhere else if he keeps playing the way he's playing right now. You got Joel Embiid, who's killing it. Don't worry, Michael, I will get to you. Joel Embiid's killing it.
Oh, will you now?
We
Will
talked about
you?
how Dario Saric is somewhat of a bench player, but maybe he could be unless they get LeBron. I don't know. But, that's the thing is what I'm saying is Ben Simmons.
From Dario to LeBron.
He honestly, this is his first year. I'm sorry, that was my bad. For his first year actually playing right now because of the injury, Ben Simmons is actually looking like the best player in the Sixers, by far.
Oh,
Yeah,
outright.
No question. No
Outright,
question.
yeah.
He's definitely
No
the best
question.
player in the
And
Sixers.
that's the thing. If none of the other Sixers players pick up, what's keeping Ben Simmons to stay in Philadelphia? Money?
Just
Well, yeah, maybe.
The loyalty and the process and the
I hate
love.
that.
But that's the thing,
I
if the
hate
team-
that word loyalty.
But
If the
listen
if the
to
team
me right
isn't
now.
loyal to
Listen
him,
that
to me
word,
right
loyalty.
now.
we got loyalty alert. Loyalty alert.
Listen to me right now.
Loyalty.
The Sixers are right where they are right now. That's the Sixers. Moving forward, though, who's to say what the Sixers are or aren't? It all depends on the future, in my opinion. If this team continues to build and continues to compete, I don't see why Ben Simmons would go anywhere else if the Sixers can max him out.
Why?
That's the thing.
It's the only thing I see. Just sorry for interrupting, but why would he leave Philadelphia 76ers, that big market? I mean, you'll have
Well,
a
it
chance to get
depends.
people, but there's just so many pieces where it's to a point where it's almost fail-proof. You'll have something to keep him.
Okay, so
They'll
Yeah.
find something to keep him because they're don't. The team that can offer Ben Simmons the most amount of money when he is a free agent is the Philadelphia 76ers, and no one can top them by a dime because they drafted him.
Right.
They're the team that can pay him the most. So we're talking about money issue. They say a money issue. This will be a talent issue.
Okay.
And honestly, I think Colangelo's are really smart. I think Brett Brown's tired of losing for 4 years. But I think they'll find a way. He's like, okay, we're going to keep Ben Simmons any way possible. We're going to make sure this team's good no matter who fails or who doesn't fail. We're going to make sure this team's good.
Okay, so you say it's a money issue and it's a roster issue. Okay, if that's the situation. One, I think the money issue in Philadelphia could already be a situation by then. You're gonna have to re-sign Joel Embiid. You're gonna have to re-sign Dario Saric.
well-
Are you re-signing Joel Embiid? Are you gonna sign LeBron or some big free agent to
Well, Yeah, but
put someone to the side?
Ben Simmons' contract, he will be up after 2 years, and we'll still have a fifth-year option. Joel Embiid just got signed for a 4-year extension, so we still have him locked up for another, I believe, 5 to 6 years.
What I'm saying is, that's true too. I mean, this whole process, though, is what I'm saying is say if the Sixers, if they're going to the playoffs every year and they're making an attempt and they even make it to a conference final or they make it remotely close to the finals, then Ben Simmons will stay on the team, no doubt. I don't have a problem with it. But if the Sixers are, for example, they only make it to the first round or they're not even making it to the playoffs and the roster is holding Ben Simmons back, Ben Simmons is going to go. And I think money-wise, yeah, he could probably make more in Philadelphia, but historically-wise, it could be a Kyrie situation. Kyrie, for example, which I do want to move on to the Celtics before we do this one.
Yeah, but he left Cleveland.
He did leave
There was
Cleveland.
nothing up there. There's always something up in Philadelphia. The Philadelphia 76ers have the third most wins in NBA history, third most playoff wins
He
in
was
NBA
held back
history,
by
too.
LeBron, which is a roster issue.
Yeah, but Ben Simmons is
Ben
not going to be
Simmons-
held back by anybody.
But that was
Ben
then,
Simmons will
that
not
was
be held back.
Then and this is now. Though.
LeBron's a petty, though.
I still think the same
Well-
kind of scenario applies.
Oh no, I
Ben
agree that
Simmons
there
will
could be
leave
some
if he-
type of same kind of scenario, but it's the Cleveland Cavaliers. They have a
Yeah.
history, a solidified history of sucking. I can see why Kyrie Irving wants to leave. Ben Simmons is in the third most winningest franchise in NBA history. So it isn't a point of I don't think I'm going to go anywhere. This is the right place. I mean, it's just recently the Sixers have been bad for a string of years other than the 90s when we're doing God knows what with Sean Bradley and those jerseys. But, I mean, I just can't see it. It's just too hard for me to see.
My inner Stephen A. Smith is just going crazy right now. I just want to say blasphemous. No,
Good
I'm playing.
screaming.
Good scream? Nah. I mean, at the end of the day, the only way we can get an answer
I mean,
to this is
and
really
we're
just
talking
to
about
watch.
money issue. The Sixers just put an extension on Robert Covington, 4 years, $62 million. I was surprised he didn't get more money. It's only
That's already a lot of money.
Yeah, it was already a lot of money, but welcome to the NBA salary cap.
So that's the thing I'm worried. That is true. The
amount.
salary cap is just so huge.
You will never have a money problem in the NBA because there's too much of it. When you only have 15 player spots and two of them are designated for two-way players. Like, come on.
Okay, no,
You're always gonna have money. Money's gonna be there, especially when you're allowed to pay a person.
I think Taylor's got the right idea right now. He's just scrolling on to his Celtics data. We should just move on to that.
I don't have the right idea.
I'm
stuck
you
on the
never
Sixers
have
page.
the right idea. Anyways, so when Ben Simmons joins the Celtics to play with Kyrie Irving in 4 years, let's talk about why he did. And honestly, we got to talk about this 13-game win streak brought to by yours truly, Kyrie Irving. I don't know if it's the mask.
Brought to you by Oikos.
Brought to you live via 617.
Isaiah Thomas is doing good in Cleveland. I think the trade worked out for both, but I think Boston is definitely
He's doing
the winner
great on
of
that
this trade.
bench. He's looks great in the suit.
Taylor, you're the Boston fanatic. You're the man. You're the number one go-to source. Why don't you tell us about how Kyrie Irving has brought so much happiness to your life?
Listen, I'm gonna be honest with you. When Gordon Hayward went down at the start of the season, I'm not gonna act like I didn't say to myself, "Is that the season? Is that the hope that we had to even have a chance versus the Cleveland Cavaliers?" There is a lot of time left, but the Cleveland Cavaliers are 7-7. The second place team in the Eastern Conference just happens to be the Detroit Pistons up at 8 Mile, doing whatever they do at Little Caesars Pizza after the games.
Little Caesars Pizza.
God. I'm writing an essay on that.
Pizza.
By the way.
But right now, I see 13 straight wins. I see Kyrie Irving, who not only took the opportunity that I think he rightfully deserved, has capitalized. That's the big thing. Kyrie Irving is making a statement right now in Boston. He's won 13 straight games.
These are some big wins.
This team looks awesome, and it's not just Kyrie Irving. Al Horford's finally starting to live up to the reason we paid him that money and kept him on that team. Jaylen Brown is a stud, S.2, stud. Getting the minutes he needs. Looks fantastic. Oh my gosh, I'm getting warm thinking about the future with Jaylen Brown and when Gordon Hayward comes back. And I'm sorry, I hate to beat this down, but I think the best thing that happened to the Boston Celtics in the offseason was passing up on Markelle Fultz because Jason Tatum is fitting in perfectly with his team. Danny Ainge knew what he was doing with his team. Terry Rozier off the bench. Marcus Smart filling the role. It's all coming together, Mass. It's not just Kyrie Irving at 20.6 points per game and all these flashy numbers. It's the whole team. Kyrie's actually not even putting in the most minutes on the team right now. The most minutes on the team is tied between Jaylen Brown and Al Horford. They're getting on the court more. It's not just one guy, Isaiah Thomas, versus the Cleveland Cavaliers having to split dodge like 4 dudes and get to the rim just to get blocked by LeBron because he's 5'9". Kyrie Irving can get to the rim. He can shoot the ball. He can distribute it. Jaylen Brown, he'll give it to Jaylen Brown. He'll get to the rim. He'll give it to Jason Tatum. He'll shoot it, get to the rim. Kyrie Irving is the accent you need for this team, and he flows so perfectly. And I think a big reason why they've won 13 straight games is because they stay consistent. Even when they get down in games, they find a way to get back into games. Even when they're leading games and games get close, they keep their composure. And Kyrie Irving is a direct result for all 4 of those things I mentioned because he brings this team together and he is the piece the Celtics needed, and it's starting to show.
It's the resiliency of this team. They on the offseason lost Avery Bradley and Jay Crowder, 2 best defensive players by far.
Right.
They're first in points allowed in the
Avery
NBA
Bradley
right now.
was tough. That was not an easy one to lose.
Gordon Hayward's probably one of your better defenders,
right.
Beginning of the season since you lost, those 2 pieces. Still number 1 in points allowed, going on a 13-game win streak. Al Horford, has been banged up the last couple of games and stuff. Still winning games. It's just the resiliency of this group. It just comes to a point where I just think the Celtics won't be holding this up for forever, and I think it comes to a point where it comes playoff time, when we're in those dog days for the playoffs, when we're getting into springtime, we're going to be like, all right, yeah, like the Celtics are going to beat or the Cavs are going to beat the Celtics because it's just LeBron, IT will be back by then. It'll be a whole different time. And we're 15 games into the season, spin it any way you want it. We're close to the end. We're not close to the end. We're still far away. A lot can still happen. And it just comes to a point, do I think this defense can really hold up because you did lose 2 elite defenders. And I don't know how it's working, but it's working. But it just comes to a point, I just don't think they can hold it up for this long. I still think they'll be in the top 2 of the East by the end of the year, 100%. But I don't think they'll be this dominant the whole season.
And you have to wonder how long this whole Al Horford, Kyrie Irving love, bromance is going on the court. I mean, outscoring.
It's going to come to a point where Kyrie Irving just has 5 straight games where he's just not doing good.
And, both of them
It's just going to happen. People are going to have cold streaks. Right now, everybody's playing good, solid, fundamental team basketball, It's like those dog days in February. Their high school basketball team. Everybody's getting along.
And
everybody's getting good grades. Everything's
Right.
going great. But all it takes is one game, one bad bounce, and it can turn drastically bad.
And I'm not saying Kyrie Irving is like, I'm not trying to tell you that Kyrie Irving solely, can take this team, because that's not true at all. I could talk about Kyrie Irving, but one thing I did mention previously that I really wanted to stress is the Kyrie Irving missing piece only works because of what's going on around him and how they're feeding off him and he's feeding off them. I mean, with Al Horford in, they're outscoring opponents by more than 16 points per 100 possessions, which is a pretty insane statistic if you think about it. Them two on the court together, if one fails and one doesn't, that could change the course of things, because like you said, Mike, there is all this time, and we have to account for the fact that the Cavs aren't particularly healthy right now. They're 7-7. They've got their legs back a little bit with that win versus the Knicks, a much-needed win. I think a loss versus the Knicks would have really raised question marks, even though despite, not trying to go off topic, but the Knicks do look kind of good this year. But the Cleveland Cavaliers are always going to have LeBron James, and I'm always going to take LeBron James over Kyrie Irving because one's better and one's not. So they're two completely different players, you know what I mean? But at the end of the day, overall, I'm going to take LeBron over Kyrie. But if the Celtics continue to do what they're doing, I'm not going to definitely say, like I said this time last year, yeah, it's the Cavs. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to start to question, well, probably the Cavs, but I mean, if we were to take the Cavaliers and the Celtics at a 1-2, once again, they're 1-2 and they're facing off in the Eastern Conference Finals. Let's say by then the Cavs are healthy, they have their players back, LeBron looks great, but so did the Celtics. I really am going to miss Gordon Hayward then. I think then is when you miss not having Gordon Hayward. That's when you miss not having Avery Bradley.
Yeah, it's going to come to the dog days of the playoffs where you're
Yeah.
definitely going to miss some pieces.
Exactly.
So the Sixers had a bit of a long process, a long and arduous one, requiring of drafting players and tanking for a bit. Celtics, despite being a pretty good team, had a pretty quick process, which required a couple trades and trading
Just
some
doing
good
what the
guys.
Celtics do, just making
Just
work.
trading some good guys for a
Off.
superstar. So which, let's say in about like a 5-year scenario, which of these trades is going to pay off more?
That's a good question, actually. I think...
Will the
I
quick
think,
process work better, or will the slow process
I
work
think
better?
I'll take slow and steady wins the race overall, and I'll tell you why. Because when you put Kyrie... So if I'm saying, like, all right, let's say I would take the Celtics, like, outright. I can't, because Kyrie Irving looks great now, but Kyrie Irving's also older, and so is the Celtics team older. They have youthful players, but the Sixers overall have more potential to be good 5 years
Or I guess
down
the better
road.
thing, in 5 years, who will have accrued more success? That's a better way to say it.
Celtics.
The Celtics.
Celtics.
5 years
Yeah.
down the
Just
road,
more
is
ready.
better.
Because 5 years down the road, but after 5 years down the road, the Sixers...
After 5 years,
After
Sixers.
5 years down the road, the Sixers are going to have the NBA by the balls. I'm
By-
sorry.
by
I
the
really think they
balls.
do. Like, after 5 years, I mean, if everything just continues to progress over the way it looks like it can and the way it has been this season so far, there is no reason the Sixers should have the NBA hands on their hands and knees, just praising them. Because I think the Sixers can be really that good when it comes to that time.
But we have to account for who they lose along the lines 5 years down the road. Which
Oh,
you
no,
can
I
never
agree.
predict.
Yeah,
That's the-
It could
exactly,
be-
but like it's
accumulation of success matters the Celtics. I'm sorry, maybe I'm biased, but the Celtics. 5 years
No,
down
it's
the road.
fine.
Yeah, no, I
accumulation,
agree,
the
though.
Celtics.
5 years
I
down
just
the road,
wanted
the
to see
Celtics,
the
'cause
comparison of
Yeah.
two different
I
processes.
think 5 years down the road, the Celtics will definitely have 2 or 3 conference or finals appearances.
Yeah.
The
Depending
Celtics-
where LeBron goes in the East too, say LeBron does make a venture to Philadelphia and goes to the Sixers, or maybe he finds a way, goes on the Knicks maybe, or maybe the Banana Boat gang gets together and go to old Miami. Who knows what happens?
Yeah, because to me it kind of looks like, for example, like the Celtics kind of took like an Eagles approach to rebuilding, just made some nice off-season moves, and now here they are like.
Yeah,
pulling
the
out.
Eagles.
I don't know if you can match what the Eagles did this year in rebuilding like
Well,
that.
it's because the Eagles
like-
have Carson Wentz, but I mean I don't know. Kyrie Irving's also nice.
Speaking
But
of-
anyway,
speaking
I don't
of
want to get too
Carson
off topic.
Wentz.
Whereas the Sixers took more like, let's like draft over time and build. I don't know what
there's
team
still
I
2
could
more
put
years
that.
until the
Texans, I
Sixers.
guess, could build
I
that.
think there's still 2 more years until the Sixers
2 more years till they really show their
till
colors.
they can possibly make a conference finals. I think hopefully within the next 2 years, I think a successful benchmark for the Sixers would have at least 1 playoff series win in the next 2 years. I
What's
think
the
that would be a
successful
successful
benchmark for the Celtics with Irving?
It's
One
a
championship
higher
final?
standard in the next. What are you talking about? The next 5 years?
In the next, yes.
In the next 5 years,
2.
a standard would be 2 NBA Finals appearances and 1 NBA.
Yeah, 1 championship. Yeah, I don't think
Okay.
you'll be able to get 2 with like Golden State.
That's fair. I like that. I like all that. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us today on The First Line. It's been more than wonderful to be able to talk to you guys about the many wonderful things in sports. Please be sure to follow us on Twitter at TFL Sports Talk. We'll see you guys next episode. Happy Thanksgiving if we don't see you then.